So I'm gonna just start off by saying that, Mr. Prospect, let me just draw a timeline over here. This will actually represent the your lifeline. So in insurance, you always like to draw a line. Okay, and this line represents your lifeline. So correct me if I'm wrong. You're currently 28 years old, and of course, whatever has passed has passed. We did not talk about it, but looking forward, I think there's many good things that is going to happen to your life. Am I right to say that? Yes. So I think one good thing that's happening in your life is, of course, your career. Currently, you are very gainfully employed. Okay, obviously, your income should increase over the years. Should there be nothing fanciful that's going to happen to you, right? And of course, you did mention to me also that you are currently in a relationship and probably you might want to get married within the next 3 years or so. Okay, so that's maybe about 31 years old. And of course, with marriage comes certain commitments. Am I right to say that? So the commitments when it comes to this, probably, you want to buy the wedding ring, you want to have a wedding dinner, all these things need money. So I'm actually showing you all the possible financial milestones. It's very important for me to show this because most of the time people don't really think so far. But today I'm going to guide you through your entire life. Okay, so of course, maybe you need to buy a HDB flat, or if you've got money, it can be a condo, a HDB flat. And of course, that will also mean that there needs some renovation costs involved, right? So all these things need money. Am I right to say that? In Singapore, getting married is not cheap. Now, on top of that, right, after that, you probably would have children. Am I right to say that? Children. So of course, children, depending on what kind of standard you want, children, well, because what kind of standard you want, sometimes it can cost as much as 1.5 to 2K a month in their education, in their whatever extra stuff that you want to actually pay for, right? So maybe that happened maybe when you're 23 or something like that. And of course, along the way, I'm pretty sure you also want to have some upgrades, right? I mean, you can upgrade your car, you probably will upgrade your house if you've not done so. That's what most Singaporeans will do, right? Upgrades, right? Car, house. And of course, there will reach a time whereby your children reaches an age where they are going for their university or their overseas education or their higher education. So that probably will happen in about 20 years time, right? So of course, that will be maybe when you're 23, 53 years old. Okay, this is the part where your children will tell you, Papa, Mommy, I got into a good university. Can I actually proceed? And that's where you also need to have a sum of money, right, for them to go for education. So do you believe in education? I'm sure you do, right? And of course, when the time comes, I think it's very important that you have more than enough money for them to take care of their education without them needing to do part-time jobs or stuff like that. Maybe do part-time job more for life experience, but not as a survival kind of thing, right? Now, I think most people like yourself and myself would look forward to a time where after working for a good 2/3 of our life, we'll look forward to some form of retirement, right? And of course, the question to ask yourself is always, maybe Brenda, I'll just ask you, do you want to retire from work or do you want to retire from enjoyment? So what do I mean by that? A lot of people, when the time comes to retire, right, they actually retire from enjoyment. Why? Because suddenly no income, right? What they used to be able to enjoy their life while they are working, now suddenly becomes a challenge because they did not, or they failed to plan for their retirement. So instead of retiring from work, they retire from enjoyment. And I'm sure that's not a scenario they want to look at. And something that we need to talk about also. And of course, finally, nobody have a lease on life. I won't know when is it because most people won't know also. But there will all come a time where we say goodbye to our loved ones and leave this world. And of course, most of the time, we would hope to do that in a very nice way. Maybe in a hospital bed where your entire few generations are beside you and then you pass away, then everybody cry, like those kind of classic movies or serial. But however, the problem with this is that seriously, we won't know when it's going to happen, right? The best case scenario, of course, is that it will happen here when everybody dies. I mean, if you want to die at the right old age, that's great. But what if it happens while your child is still young, or when you guys or you and your spouses have usually a spouse, not spouses, your spouse have already done just did an upgrade in your car, in your house, and your bills are actually all the way up to your neck or your eyes, right? So that will not be a very good time. Now, but of course, all else being equal, can I say that this is probably what's going to happen in the future? Unless you tell me you're going to become an archaeologist, you're going to be an Indiana Jones, you're going to live in a pyramid for 1 year. I don't think much of this will differ. Am I right to say that? Then you say yes, yeah, correct. So of course, if that's the case, actually, Mr. Prospect, I don't think there's some things that I will want to question whether this is possible for you, like whatever I've drawn. And of course, you may ask me why, and I'm going to tell you 3 reasons why this may not be possible. Number 1, we all die one day, but what if we die too soon? I think premature death is actually one of the most common problems that people are not aware of. But if it happens, obviously it's too late. Like what I mentioned to you guys just now, a person typically, if they can choose to die, they will die at the right old age with their family around them, right? But of course, there's no way we can plan for that. And if death were to occur earlier, it may be detrimental. Yeah, and that's where financial planning comes in, because it allows you to plan ahead such that if such a thing happen early, your financial the people that are left behind will not suffer a financial disaster. I think that's very important. Now, of course, the flip side is if a person don't die too soon, they live too long, right? So sometimes you watch those serial, those especially the Hong Kong serial, they will say what, like live for very long but won't die, right? And of course, that becomes a very big problem, especially so when I think life expectancy is increasing every year. Okay, for Singapore, it's currently for ladies is 88, for male is 85. But I believe in time to come, it will be even longer, right? People are really talking about living to age 100. So can you imagine if you live until age when you retire age 65, by the time you reach age 100, that's about 30 to 40 years of money that you need to plan for yourself. The biggest question is, how long can your money last? And have you planned for it in the first place? And of course, I would say that besides the two of these, the next most important thing is, of course, the hazards that can happen along the way. We are talking about things like a disability or a critical illness or a major hospital bill that can actually wipe you out of all your money that you have planned so far. And of course, on this topic about money, right? I'm very sure you have saved up quite a lot of money for your dreams and aspirations, right? We are talking about your dream wedding, your dream house, first home renovation, all the different upgrades that you want to do, your children's wonderful career, and of course your final retirement. I'm sure you have actually planned all this, but if you don't plan properly, all this money may end up be used to finance other things that you did not plan for, namely dying too soon, living too long, and hazards along the way. So I just want to share with you that life is like treading on a thin wire. Why do I say that? Because we are always doing this thing called a balancing act. What do I mean by a balancing act? We are always trying to balance between two things. The first thing is your income, and of course, the second thing is your expenses, correct? When you first start, or when you just bought a house, or you just did a major purchase, your income may be less than your expense. Basically, you spend more, right? This is one scenario. But still manageable. You just need to maybe eat a bit less, eat out a bit less, and then you just recoup your basic financial ability again, right? And of course, there'll be time where your income equals to your expenses, right? So it's income less. And then of course the next scenario where income equals your expenses. That means to say what? That means to say that your income is now equal, no extra, but no deficit. That's good, very well managed. But of course, we all look forward to a time where your income is always more than your expenses, and that's where you can actually do more savings, more investment, and etc. Am I right to say that? But however, I think even if your income is less than expenses, you are still able to continue living, right? I mean, it's not a death sentence. But however, right, what we are concerned about is when financial storms, right? So this is like financial storm. So imagine a person, balancing on a nice thin wire, trying to manage all his finances. And seriously, I got it's not just applies to young people, right? I got people way into their older years, still trying to balance their finances. But I think it's still manageable, right? Most of the time. But what we don't want is the wind of change or a wind of calamity that can blow you off track. And this is something that we totally would not want, right? So my question to you is that if the wind comes, which side will you want to fall on? Left or right? It's a trick question now, right? Because I mean, when the wind comes, you can't choose, right? I mean, you're so off balance, you also don't know which side you'll fall on. But one thing for sure is that what you can do is you should not worry about when is it going to happen, but when it does happen, are you protected? Are you able to have a safety net? And this safety net is very important because this safety net must be, first of all, long enough so that it can cover you for your entire life. Now, why do I say that? A lot of people fail to realize that when they actually buy a net or an insurance coverage that is only up to a certain age, it does not completely take care of all the possible permutations, especially in their later years. So the coverage needs to be long enough, preferably for life. And of course, the second thing is that it needs to be big enough. What do I mean by big enough? You can have a policy that covers you for a long time, but it means nothing if it doesn't cover sufficiently, right? I've met with a lot of people in the past where they only have maybe a 10K death benefit plan or maybe a 50K death benefit plan that was bought by their mom or their dad. It's obviously not enough. Because why? Imagine how long can 10K or 50K last, right? Not long. So it definitely needs to be enough. And also, there must not be any holes. A lot of people have big and long coverage, but seriously, there's a lot of loopholes. There's a lot of loopholes in their coverage. And of course, if you're not careful, you may just fall right through. So what I want to achieve here today is to share with you the importance of this safety net. And of course, if you give me the opportunity, I can do an analysis on your current coverage, if you have any, to see whether your coverage is big enough, long enough, and are there any holes that I can actually patch up for you. So this is my job here. Now, I just want to also share with you this very important thing, is this thing called the financial planning triangle. So I'm just going to show you this very small little triangle here. And I'm going to just divide into 3 portions, right? So the first portion and the cornerstone of financial planning is always risk management. In fact, most of the companies have a risk management mandate or a risk management plan to ensure that their risks, whether is it market risk, business risk, credit risk, counterparty risk, are all hedged out, right? If you don't do that properly, things like your Silicon Valley Bank and your all the Credit Suisse will happen, right? Because that's actually just an example of I would say poor risk management, where certain decisions are made earlier that may not have a sustainable outcome for the long term, right? Of course, at that point in time, I'm sure the top management would justify themselves for making those decisions, right? But when the rubber meets the road, and pardon me to say, when the shit hits the fan, everything comes out, right? So of course, the next thing is wealth accumulation, very important along your whole life, where you are actually working towards a good, risk management plan, you also need to think about your savings, your investments. So that's where wealth accumulation comes in, right? And of course, finally, when all these are being done properly, and then you want to worry about maybe your taxation, your estate planning, and maybe death taxes, or that's where wealth management comes in. Now, for 99% of the population, not much wealth management is needed because generally wealth is not so abundant, right? But I would say that what I can do for you is I can actually do your risk management and your wealth accumulation portion together. There are actually a lot of advantages of doing it together. One of the biggest advantages is that because it will work in the long term and it's more practical. When you split them up, the more moving parts there are, the more chances that it will not happen in the long term. When I say in the long term, I'm talking about durations above 20 to 30 years, because this is the kind of duration that you're looking at from now till retirement and beyond. A lot of people try to be too smart because things that can happen in theory may not happen in practical. Right? For example, they like to do buy term and invest the rest. While I'm not an advocate nor am I against that, I would say that the chances of one person buying term and invest the rest for the next 20 to 30 years is close to zero, because something somehow will happen along the way that will cause them to derail. And it has been proven that most people who choose to bundle them together actually have a higher success rate over the long term. This is a fact of the matter. Of course, if you talk about theoretical, a lot of theory sounds very good on paper, one can make a lot of money, but when we actually put it into a real world test, all of them will fail. Yeah, of course, what's more important is the overall track record that we have that actually can help most of our clients achieve that. Now, let me just talk about this thing called risk management. The 4 ways to mitigate risk. Because when you talk about risk management, right, there's actually basically 4 ways to mitigate risk. For risk mitigation, right? And of course, they are namely, number 1, the first way may not be the best way, depending on what is to absorb the risk. For example, you don't insure your pen, because if you lose it, you just buy a new one, right? $4, $1. You don't absorb, you just absorb the risk. If I lose it, I buy a new one, right? And of course, the next thing is reduce, right? So how can you reduce? Yeah, maybe in your house you have a lock safe. Maybe in your bathroom you've got a bathroom mat so that you won't fall down. Okay, these are all some examples of risk reduction. And of course, avoidance, right? What you can do is to avoid the risk. Totally avoid the risk means what? If you don't want to get drunk driving, then totally don't drink lah. Right? Yeah, or maybe you don't want to be caught in some investment scam, then you totally don't invest. Or there's an example. And of course, last but not least, what we call a risk transfer. That means is to transfer the risk to a third party, who is of course the professionals or people who have actually done it many times, right? One of the best example is, if you don't want to drive your car, you can actually just transfer that particular risk to a Grab driver. Then the Grab driver will drive you around. Or maybe you don't want to take the risk of going out to buy food during COVID, because you're scared that you may contact some COVID-19. Right, so what you do, you actually ask your mate to go and buy for you, or maybe you ask a Grab driver to buy for you, right? So this is a very 4 very important methods. But of course, today I'm not going to share with you how you can do risk management in the first 3 ways, but what I want to share with you is that risk transfer is something that you can do with us. We don't insure things that you can afford to lose, but definitely it's important that you insure things you cannot afford to lose, right? Now, if you can afford to lose your pen, no problem, right? But can you afford to lose your hand? Right? If you lose one arm, that's a very different thing already. Maybe you cannot write, you cannot do a lot of things, and definitely you need some financial compensation for that. So far, let me move on because I just want to ask you this very simple question, right? What is the most valuable asset to you right now? You might tell me, oh, it's my car lah, my house lah, my credit limit lah, my blah blah blah. But I would like to challenge you by saying that the most valuable asset to you right now is your ability to earn your income, right? I think it's so important, something that a lot of people actually forgotten to realize this is actually the most important fact, because a simple way to ask anyone that I know, including yourself, right, is that how much of your income is derived from your investments? You're talking about rental income, you're talking about your dividend income, you're talking about your interest. Most people will tell you, oh yeah, not much, maybe 500 a month, 1,000 a month, 2,000 a month. Is that enough for you to cover your expenses on a monthly basis? The answer most of the time is no, because most of their expenses is covered by what? By their income, their active income, right? And if that's the case, then shouldn't you spend a lot more time looking at how you can protect this piece, right? Rather than always looking at investment where it's not going to make a big difference to you, at least in the short term, right? So I think very important for us to look at what you currently earn and what you currently spend, and what you own and what you owe, right? From there, I can actually give you a very good idea on how I can help you to ensure that you have this ultimate financial plan that can protect you in all areas, while at the same time help you to accumulate cash. Sounds good? So what's your income? Maybe this one you just help me out. So what's your income? Maybe Jill, can you share with me how much you earn on a monthly basis?
10K.
10K, wow, that's great. Young and successful. Now, do you have any other income like rental income, interest income, dividend income, and stuff like that?
Yes,
So
from
you have,
my what's that, insurance. I did investment on
investment one. How much more is that per month?
about 1,500.
Wow, successful. You 1,500. So total in so I mean I'll just include in as a total income. Monthly, yeah, it's about 11,500. Now, how much do you spend a month? I mean, I can see that you have car, you've got nice house, and then you also live quite a decent life. So what is the monthly expenditure? If you are able to break down for me, it would be good. But if you know just like this, how much you spend a month, can you let me know?
About 6K.
Oh, 6K. That's great. Does it include all things like bill payments, installment, loan payment, and etc.?
Yeah.
Great.
Around.
Good. So of course, let me just do a simple calculation. If this is what you're spending on a monthly basis, right? I would say that you would have therefore a surplus of about 5.5K.
Yeah.
And 5.5K, if I were to multiply by 12, that will equals to 5.5K times 12 is actually around 66,000. And can I know what kind of bonus do you get from company? Is it like minimally 1 month, 2 months, that kind of thing?
Half a month.
How many months?
It's about half a month.
Half a month
Half.
bonus. So that's another 5K, right? So
Yes.
I would say that in the annually you should have at least 70K of surplus lying somewhere, okay, in your bank account. Now, if you don't see it, means you have overspent now, and that's where I want to help you to re-establish this money so that it belongs to you rightfully. Now,
Okay.
the next thing that I want to ask is, of course, what assets do you have? Right? Do you actually own a house?
Yeah.
How much is the value now?
I am not too sure the value now, but
Uh-huh.
I know every month I pay the bank about 3K.
3K, ah?
Mm.
Well, 3K. But you don't know the value of your house now. 3K, I think most probably you took a loan of close to 1 million plus minus. And also, if that's the case, then I'm just estimating your property should be about 1.5 million. Right?
Okay.
Now, this is your house. Okay, I'm just doing a very quick estimation. And of course, can I just roughly know how much do you have in your CPF balance right now? The CPF balance, if quickly there's actually a very easy way to find out how much a person earn how much a person have in their CPF. First thing is, of course, I'll ask you, Jill, how long have you been working? 8 years. So between your first job and your current job, right? What is the how much do you earn your first job? Was your starting pay?
3K.
3K, so 3K, and then now you're earning about 10K lah, right?
Yeah.
So I take 3 plus 10 divide by 2, your average pay over the past 10 years, 8 years should be about 6.5K. That's just my very rough estimate. And then I multiply this by 12.5 because generally your bonus is about 0.5, right, per year. So your annual income on the average is about 81,000. And then I multiply that by 10 years, that's about 800,000. And then I multiply that by 0.37, because that is the total CPF contribution together with yourself and your employer. That will amount to almost 300,000, around there. Yeah. But of course, I may want to take a haircut because there's a cap of 6K actually. Yeah, so maybe just maybe around 200 plus K. So can I assume that in your CPF you should have around 200K, but maybe some of the 200K you use to pay for your house. So I just say maybe left with about 150K. You go and check,
Okay.
should be around there. Now, also at the same time, can I ask you what's your cash position right now? How much of your money is in cash?
120.
Very good, you. Wow, very successful. And of course, liabilities, how much liability do you have right now? You say that you have a loan, and can I say that the loan outstanding is about $1 million? Around there. So if I were to do a simple net worth calculation, right? Your net worth will be equals to 1.5 plus 150 plus 120 minus 1 million. So it's about 770K, right? Pretty healthy. And you have a very good cash balance, but we'll just see how good is that actually. So far clear? Now I'm going to just do a simple explanation because after doing this, right, can you feel that your income is very important to you? Because out of income allows you to make your expenses and also the surpluses that actually help you to accumulate cash, right, in order to achieve all the goals that you want to achieve over the next few years. I'll just put you on mute first. Yeah, but however, right, so I'll just draw a simple arrow here because your ability to earn income is central to your entire financial life, right? Because until such a time whereby your investment can take over your income, right, you still need your own personal ability to earn the income. Am I right to say that? But can you imagine a scenario whereby your ability to earn your income is gone, right? And therefore, the goals and the dreams that you want to have is also gone. So far clear? Now, and in my years of practice, I realized that there's only two major reasons with a lot of sub points why this will happen. And the first reason is that it is temporary. Sorry, not temporary. Another reason is that it is permanent. So let's look at the temporary reasons first. What are some of the temporary reasons that can cause you to lose your ability to earn your income? Number one, you resign. But most of the time, if you resign, you probably have some other plans in mind, right? Unless you are so emotional and enraged. Okay, but most people will probably have a second plan already. Of course, the next thing is that you're retrenched. You got no choice, but probably you can get some money and probably you can still continue looking for a job. Of course, the last but not least, you may get terminated or this one something else, right? But either way, can I just ask you a simple question? How long do you allow yourself to be unemployed before you start looking for a job? Okay, most people will tell me between 3 months or less. But I would say that 90% of the people will tell me for job tomorrow, okay, because they cannot afford not to have an income, right? But in Singapore wise, it will take between 3 to 6 months. 3 months, below 3 months if you are on the ball, but maybe maximum 6 months if you are just not so on the ball to find a job. And also it depends on what kind of job are you willing to take, because depending on your age and your last round pay, you may not be able to find the same kind of job that pays you the same kind of money in the past, right? So you may take a bit longer, but generally it's about between 3 to 6 months. And of course, these 3 to 6 months, I would say you need to ensure that you have this thing called emergency cash. Emergency cash meaning to say that, in the event whereby such unfortunate thing happen, right, at least you got some money to take care of yourself without worrying about borrowing money. So if you're talking about 3 to 6 months, right, based on your current expenditure of 6K, right, 3 to 6 months will equal to between 18K to 36K of emergency cash, right? And I suggest that you keep this in a fixed deposit, saving deposit or whatever, so that in the event whereby such a thing happen, you can unlock the money immediately with full cash liquidity. But I also want to highlight to you, right, that anything over and beyond that is not fully optimized. Why? Because we are looking at a high inflation rate right now, correct? Our inflation is, I don't know how much now, probably between 3 to 4%, whereas our returns on the saving account may not have catch up so fast, correct? And of course, that creates a scenario whereby your money is technically shrinking. So it's so important that you ensure that you achieve a certain ROI on the balance cash in the long term. So this is something that I really want to tell you about. Now, in the past, I always talk about the low interest rate environment and the high inflation environment, but seems like the interest rate has risen. So I'm talking about a decent rate of return on the balance cash in the long term. Now, of course, we talk about permanent issues is exactly the three things that I mentioned to you earlier. Number one is, of course, dying too soon. And number two is, of course, living too long. And of course, all the hazards along the way. I can include things like total and permanent disability, critical illness, PI, and of course, accident and hospital and surgical cover. So all these things are very important and you need to plan for it. And I'm going to offer you a very simple way of planning all these things to ensure that you are well covered. Over the past 20 years that I'm in the business, these theories have not changed. And of course, when you put the theory into practical plans, it's going to work out for you just fine. Now, upon that, there's a few people you want to take care of. If you are single, it's probably your parents. And for your parents, you're looking at the longest surviving parent. For example, maybe Jill, your parent is, say, 60 years old now, for example. So from 60 until 85, that's a good 25 years to go. You take 25, multiply by 12, multiply by the amount of money that you give them on a monthly basis. So example, maybe in this case, 6K, maybe you give 500, maybe 1,000 to your mom or your parents. So your coverage times 12 times 25 times 1, so at least about 300K for them. Not that a single person got nobody to care for. They still got their aged parents to care for. So you need at least 300,000. Now, if you are married without children, then you want to plan for your spouse, especially the guys. Now, how much you want to pay for a spouse? Probably you want to make sure that the spouse stay in the same house, eat the same food for at least the next 10 years. So it's a very ballpark calculation times 12. And maybe from here, I see that you spend about 6K a month. So probably 1K goes to your parents, the other 5K go to yourself and your spouse. So I just take 5K, multiply by 10, 5K multiply by 10 years, multiply by 12 months, it's about 600,000. You need at least 600,000 to take care of your spouse, to make them feel secure. And of course, if you have children, that will be an even larger piece because children will be at least 20 years. 20 times 12 and multiply by the amount of money they will spend for their livelihood, maybe about 2K a month. You see, in these calculations, it is not an exact science, but it is something that need to make sense. 12 times 20 times 2, that's about 480,000. I mean, I can be very exact. I used to do that, but after a while, I realized it's meaningless because people seriously, when the death or the critical illness occur, they just want to make sure there's a sum of money there for them that makes sense. And a simple calculation like this will make a lot of sense for them. Now, the next thing, of course, Yeah, I'll just put here. Okay, so the next thing, of course, is disability. Sometimes even worse than death because you're still alive and you still need to take care of the people around you, but you can't because you are not able to. That's quite bad scenario. So how much do you need at disability? I will normally take the 6K that you are spending. Notice I don't take the income, I take the expense because there's two way of calculation. Some people take the income calculation, which I think is too high because expenditure calculation will be a little bit more accurate without factoring inflation. Now, 6K multiplied by 12 years, multiplied by the number of years that you want to be disabled. Again, it's a trick question because nobody can tell you how many years they want to be disabled. Normally, the fact that it's permanent means it's for a long time. So let's just plan until retirement. So now you're 28. From 28 to your retirement age, probably that's another maybe 35, 40 years more. I just put 40. 12 times 6 times 40, that's about 2.8 million. And most of the time, your critical illness, or rather your disability cover, will be one of the biggest component for your insurance. But at the same time, it's also the cheapest because it seldom happens. In terms of probability, death is a certainty, right? Everybody will die. The disability may not, but of course, we should still take care of it. But critical illness will be one of the most probable one. I'm sure a lot of us have experienced to some extent one of our loved one who actually get critical illness, and besides the emotional trauma, you have to deal with the financial catastrophe. It becomes a very, very it becomes a scenario whereby you have to be concerned. Hey, wow, so much money. Hey, should I go for this treatment? Should I go for this treatment? But at the end, if this treatment is fully paid up, why not? So critical illness wise, I'm always looking at a 5-year replacement, what we call income replacement for 5 years. Replacement for 5 years. There's about 5 times 12 times your 6K a month. Why? Because with this money, you don't need to worry about your salary. You don't need to worry about livelihood. You can have a sum of money regularly being paid to you, or in fact, it's normally in a lump sum format, so that you can continue living without worrying about your finances. So that is about 360K. And of course, there's another component that I want you to consider, which is your extended medical bills. Extended medical bills will be things that is not covered under your hospital and surgical coverage that may still require you to pay. For example, it falls out of the coverage component and etc. So I will normally put at least 100 to 200K, but for your case, since you are so successful, I just put 200K for you. So total about 560,000. Now, accident and hospitalization is something that is a must-have. It doesn't cost a lot, but it will be the most commonly claimed item in your insurance portfolio. Trust me, within the next 3 years, you probably will claim at least an accident or sometimes a hospital claim. So this two is a must-have. I'm not going to talk too much about it at this point in time, but it will be something that I'll plan for you. And of course, we move on to retirement. Now, if you're going to retire at 65 and you think you can last maybe for the next 25 years when you're 85, so you take 25 multiplied by 12 and then multiply by the amount of money that you need to survive based on your current needs. Why do I use current needs and not future needs? Because let's plan for the current requirement first. If you cannot afford the future, if you cannot afford the current, you can't afford the future. So let's just use 6K as an example. In order for you to continue living the same standard of living as you are now, this will equal to about 1.8 million. This is how much you need to plan for. Now, let me give you a quick summary. Okay, in order for you to have a robust financial plan that can take care of all the things that can happen along the way in your timeline, firstly, I want you to take note that you need at least 300K it's just for your parents, 600K for your spouse, and 400K for your children. If it's everything all encompassing, that will amount to almost $1.5 million of cover. Now, if you were to just go to any website in Singapore on how much a person needs in terms of death cover, is around there, 1 million. Likewise, you also need about 2 million in terms of disability income. For total permanent disability, you need at least 560,000 of critical illness in the event whereby critical illness happen, and you can actually just take the next 5 years to recover. I've done this so many times. I've got a couple of clients who got critical illness, namely cancer, and then with this money, they are able to continue their life as if the cancer is just a passing storm, and they live a very good life actually, because they got a lot of payout. Accident and health is a must-have, and of course, retirement fund of 1.8 million. Now, let me just ask you this simple question. Do you have 1.5 million left for your parents, your spouse, and your children upon your demise? Yes? No, don't have. Most of the time, no. Do you have what 2.8 million somewhere stashed up in a bank in case you get disabled? The answer is no lah. Most people say no lah. Huh? Do you have 560,000 of income replacement fund somewhere in under your bed, or maybe stashed in some safe that you can unlock? Obviously not lah. Are you fully covered for accident and hospitalization such that a bill of 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 is a no big deal for you? Not really lah. And of course, do you have 1.8 million when the time comes for you to retire, and you just want to enjoy the fruits of your labor? Don't have. And of course, that's the reason why I'm here, to plan for you so that you can actually achieve all these things. You give me a good budget. Then now let's talk about the budget. Over here, you see everything I do is all linked one, because over here, I've already established a good surplus of close to 70K a year, whereby that accounts for all the extra cash that you accumulated over the years. Now, Mr. Prospect or Miss Prospect, if I'm able to help you to solve all these problems over the period of time, how much of this money do you think you can allocate for me as part of your budget? Now, I always encourage people to put between 10 to 20% of your income and into some form of long-term financial planning too. Now, 10 to 20% of your income, if I just take in your working income, that's about between 1 to 2K. 1K to 2K of your take home, including whatever plans you currently have now. And this would give me a very robust model for me to work something for you. But now, can I just ask you, and I also want to ask the three of you, after listening to this presentation, I hope you all have been taking notes and listening to what I say. Can I ask you, based on your current situation, based on this scenario, based on this test case, how much, and whatever I said just now, like the level of convincingness, how much do you want to put aside on a monthly basis in order for me to take care of all the needs over here, including whatever you already have, whatever plans you already have now? But you just give me the full amount. I want you to type in the chat. I see Brenda need to leave, but never mind, you're still here because it's so exciting. So I want you all to just tell me, how much are you willing to put aside based on how well I perform in the last 30 minutes? How much are you willing to put aside in order for me to come up with a plan that can take care of everything here? There is $1.5 million of death, 2.8 million of disability, 560,000 of critical illness, and a retirement fund of 1.8 million, while at the same time taking care of all major accident, minor or major accident needs, and also hospitalization in a private hospital as charged. Key in the chat now. Per month, 500 to 1,000. How about Brenda? Yeah, Brenda and you, 1,000. Brenda, 1,000. I would say that I think in terms of consensus, we can easily take a budget of 1,000 or 12,000 a year. That's times 12 equals 12,000 a year to take care of all these needs. Remember, there's also a huge component of 1.8 million. Normally, if you give me 2K, I probably can hit everything, but because you only give me half the budget, I probably can hit most of the things except the wealth accumulation portion, because the wealth accumulation will need much more funding. But Of course, I'll respect your budget and I'll work out something for you so that you can actually be able to sustain it in the long term, because long-term sustainability is also very, very important for you. Imagine this is actually the sea. Okay, so this is the sea. And then, of course, in the sea, you have, this is you. So this is you. And, when you first started work, technically your parents just threw you into just threw you into the ocean to fend for yourself lah. Oh, am I right to say that? I think most of the people are here lah. So you're treading on the water. But of course, maybe you only have a life buoy. Maybe you just have this life buoy to just sustain your safety. Other than that, you are just floating in the water. Okay? Now, when you're in this situation, what is the first thing that you want to get for yourself? What's the first thing that you get for yourself if you have an option in order for you to feel a bit more safe? You only got a life buoy lah. I ask some people, they say, "Oh, I'll find another friend in the same situation." No lah, that's not correct. How, Jill? What will you get if you are in this situation?
Get a boat.
That's the perfect answer. Correct. You get a boat. Why? Because the boat provides stability, safety, and security. Correct. In the event of storm, you are safe. You no longer need to float in the water. It's really part of the survival requirement. Correct. And of course, the boat in this example will be likened to a life insurance, whereby you will take care of all the needs in the longest possible time, or at least all the way until you reach your destination. So where is your destination? Your destination is this retirement island over here. So we call it the retirement island. So I'll just draw a couple of, in order for it to look more like a retirement island. For it to look more like a retirement island. Okay, so I'll just draw a tree here with a coconut tree. Right, so this is the retirement island, where you hope to, once you reach there, you can actually retire. So imagine in the sea, everybody is struggling. Some got boat, some got no boat, but now you hop onto a boat and then you're moving towards your retirement destination. Now, the question I want to ask you is this, and this is a real question. When you reach your retirement island, would you want to sell away your boat for more money so that you can stay in the retirement island with a lot of money? Is that a good option? That means your boat, when you reach your destination, has got cash value such that you can sell. You can choose to keep your boat if you have a lot of money, or you can sell away your boat to take more money. Or you prefer that you buy a boat, actually you rent a boat. Which one you prefer? You want to buy or you want to rent? Buy means when you reach your destination, you can sell and take money for your retirement. Rent means when you reach your destination, the boat doesn't belong to you, actually it belongs to the company. They'll just take back the boat. Basically, you help them to pay for the boat. Which one you prefer? Buy or rent? Buy. So it's very important. Why buy? Because you have a cash value. And that's the difference between a whole life insurance and a term insurance. Term, you pay, but you don't get back anything in return. And in fact, the premium increases with age. But when you buy a whole life, most of the time the premium is fixed. You can pay in a shorter term or as long as you want, but there's a cash value. So it's very important. Now, along the way, you also realize that there are a lot of people who are moving faster than you. Then you realize, actually they got a paddle. They actually have this paddle. The paddle seems to be helping them to move faster. So you found, actually the paddle is analogous to a saving plan. So what do I mean by that? That means with the saving plan, you can actually move faster. But don't make the mistake. A lot of people make the mistake of buying saving plan first without the boat. Then it'll be very funny. With buying the saving plan without the boat, it's just like you're on this, you're on the what the lifeboat. I mean, your life boy, and then you are having a paddle. It's so funny. It doesn't work that way. So always make sure you have your plan structured properly. Get the life insurance first, and if you prefer to have cash value at the end, you buy it rather than rent it. Then you add on saving components to boost your retirement fund, to boost your children education fund, or to boost your general, good life fund in the later years. So far, so good. Now, again, you see some people moving even faster. Then you realize that on top of savings, or maybe instead of saving, they have this sale. And the sale seems to work regardless of where the wind is blowing. So the sale in our insurance context will be like the investment plans, whereby you can actually make use of the investments to accumulate more money so that you can actually reach your destination even faster, or even have more money when the time comes. So far. Now, because you have given me a $1,000 per month budget, I think I can work out something for you. And due to your current age and your risk profile, which I presume is of above balance or balance, I would say that the most efficient way to give you a comprehensive life insurance cover, and at the same time make use of the long time horizon that you have to accumulate as much wealth as possible. I would say that the investment and the life plan combo will be the most effective for you now. Most of the people in their late 20s to 30s and even early 40s, I would recommend a whole life investment link kind of portfolio for them. But if you are a bit less risk averse, you prefer to take it slow, then I will offer you the participating saving type of whole life plan that can still give you some cash, but the cash will be much more slower. Understand? So far, so this would be something that I'll be planning for you.